With us, Commissioner Director in Somerset County, Chanel Robinson. We've got both members of the Assembly in the 16th District, Andrews Wicker and Roy Fryman. Superintendent of the State Police, Colonel Pat Callahan. I think is Diane and Joe are. Diane is with us.
I am here, but Joe is not.
Joe is not. Is he coming or not?
He can't get
Okay. So Diane Gutierrez-Scacchetti, who's our Commissioner of the Department of Transportation. As I mentioned, Mayor Sean and members of council, I particularly want to thank them for hosting us, and other members of our team. So to state the obvious, that yesterday Tropical Storm Ida swept across the state with high winds, and in some cases, as I saw down south, with some cases tornadoes. It had heavy rains and deadly flooding. I'm saddened to report that as of right now, at least 23 New Jerseyans have lost their life to this storm. The majority of these deaths were individuals who got caught in their vehicles by flooding and were overtaken by the water. Our thoughts and deepest prayers are with their family members. Traveling in these conditions is extremely dangerous and potentially deadly, so I would just say to folks, please stay off the roads. We're not out of this yet. Stay home if it's safe to do so. Too many families are already mourning the tragic loss of a loved one. And do not assume that your car or truck can handle it. Don't assume you know how deep the water is, and if you must travel, do not drive into flooded areas. I want to probably most importantly thank all of our emergency responders who worked tirelessly to rescue those in danger, risking their own lives in the process. And we're being hosted by many of them right now. The group here in Hillsborough, police, EMS, fire, were extraordinary and have worked through the night. We are still very much in the midst of the impacts of Ida. The storm struck while many areas were still saturated from rains from Henri, leading to severe flooding in some areas of the state, which won't subside for days. I don't know why I just thought of this, but Congressman Tom Malinowski is with us, and I neglected to acknowledge him. Our first and primary commitment is to ensure the safety and well-being of residents in those areas most heavily impacted by this storm. NJ, OEM, and state emergency responders are working with county and local responders to help those in need across the state. This morning I met with state emergency management officials at the statewide Traffic Management Center in Woodbridge to discuss storm response and recovery. We're doing everything we can to speed up the recovery process, and I'm grateful for the communication and offers of assistance from FEMA, whose administrator I spoke with this morning, as well as with President Biden, with whom I also spoke this morning. And I deeply appreciate their support. Later this morning, I toured storm-damaged areas of the Mullica Hill neighborhood of Harrison, where a devastating tornado tore through multiple houses, leveling some down to their foundation. Our homeowners, towns, and businesses will need a great deal of support in the wake of this storm, and we will work tirelessly with our federal partners to meet that need. At the storm's height, roughly 93,000 customers were without power. As of now, that number is approximately 44,000, and they are still waiting for restoration. In Joe Fiordaliso's absence, I can say that both he and I and the rest of us are monitoring the efforts of our electric suppliers to restore power. For some residents, we know restoration may take some time, unfortunately counting in days instead of hours, and we do urge everyone's patience as crews are working as quickly and safely as possible. Many crews, not surprisingly, could not get out in the field as soon as they wanted to yesterday because of the storm's sustained flooding, and it made it hazardous for them to do so. As always, if you see a downed wire or a downed tree that has taken a power line with it, do not attempt to go anywhere near it. Stay clear, leave it to the professionals, call it in. And if your home is without power, don't assume someone else has called it in. Please call it in on your own. NJ Transit's also working to fully restore its rail services to a regular schedule as crews work to clear tracks. If you've got any question about their schedule, go to njtransit.com. before you leave home for the latest. Diane will give us a little bit of a fuller picture on transportation generally, including NJ Transit, in a minute. Additionally, a number of state parks and forests in central and northern New Jersey were impacted by yesterday's storm and remain closed as damage assessments are ongoing. If you've got any question about that, go on Facebook, facebook.com/New Jersey State Parks for the latest status. As always, I think the best universal place to check in terms of a website is ready.nj.gov, which gives you the general updates across a whole range of items. Before I pass the podium to the Speaker of the General Assembly, and I want to thank Craig for his extraordinary partnership, I want to reiterate the dangers of this storm have not passed just because the weather today has cleared and is beautiful. Please be safe, use common sense, and stay off the roads. Thank you again, everybody, for your patience, and stay well. With that, please help me welcome the Speaker of the General Assembly, Craig Coughlin.
Thank you, Governor, and thank everybody for being here and coming out today. I want to express my condolences to those the families of those 23 New Jerseyans who lost their lives over the last incredible hours that we have all endured, and to echo the government's thanks to the brave first responders and people who answered the call of duty. I was talking to Rich here, who was on the dispatcher on duty last night, talking about the incredible strain that the floods put on the fire department and the personal conflicts. He was talking about one of his colleagues, and you know, in the middle of performing their duties, he got word from his wife or somebody by text that they had just lost their basement that they had fixed in January. But you know, their sense and commitment to duty and to serve other people is something that we're so very proud of here in the state of New Jersey and very fortunate to have. So to all of you who serve, I suspect most of you haven't had any sleep in a long time. Thank you for doing that. We don't know how many lives you saved, but my guess is it's far more than the 20 who we lost, or 23 that we lost. So thank you to all of them. Keep up the good work. To all of the people of New Jersey, you're resilient and we'll get through this, but let's be mindful of the challenges that we face as we go forward as a state in terms of addressing making sure that this kind of thing we can keep to a minimum. And let's be real about what the causes were when we talk about climate change and the fantastic storms, and I don't mean that in a good way, that we face as a result of those things. This was an incredible night as we all lived through it. I know in my district, Carteret was particularly hard hurt, as well as Woodbridge. We lost one of our souls in Woodbridge as well. So these are challenging efforts that have to be made, but we're going to get through it. You know, we'll do better. But to everybody here, thank you for making a difference, and to all of you out there, God bless. Stay safe and be mindful, as the governor pointed out, that you can't get through the water. You have to be really careful. Thank you all. Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks, buddy. Thank you, Craig, for your leadership and for your words. A couple of folks from our cabinet would love to just come in and give you a very brief sense of things. Please help me welcome the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation, Diane Gutierrez-Scicchetti. Diane?
Thanks, Doug. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The DOT family shares its condolences as well, as the governor stated and Speaker. It is difficult in these circumstances that are so sudden, and so our hearts go out to those. I would be remiss if the first thing I didn't do was to thank our partners at New Jersey State Police, local law enforcement, and so many of the folks behind me, our first responders, who we could not do our job without. It's difficult times, and without them, we can't be as successful. There's no doubt the interstate highway system was inundated with water last evening. Rain fell at a higher rate per hour in a shorter time than was forecast. We still have several roads that have partial closures. Route 77 down in Gloucester County is still partially closed as they continue to try to replace utility poles that were downed as of the events last night. We have partial closures on Route 1 and Route 29, as well as on Route 18 in New Brunswick. We have Route 22 at Chimney Rock. The ramps are closed based on an MSC wall failure, and we are assessing those issues now. In all, we have at least 21 damage assessments that we're conducting. We will not have a total until the rest of that water recedes and we can assess the pavement and its condition, which we will continue to do throughout today and tonight until it gets done. Happy to report there were no incidents on the Atlantic City Expressway or at Atlantic City Airport. The New Jersey Turnpike and Garden State Parkway are fully open. There will be periodic lane closures on those roads to allow for cleanup and some minor repair. Last night, we actually started our first 511 Connect operation. 511 Connect is a technology that we use to geofence a particular area where we have an incident. We're able to message drivers in that area to let them know we are aware of their situation, and we're able to communicate with them as needs. 1,017 customers opted in to receive those messages as we tried to clear flooded waters and move them along. We operated 6 different geofenced areas, and we'll continue to use the technology so that we can make sure we can communicate with drivers who are in difficult situations. The governor mentioned New Jersey Transit. At this time, rail service is operating on the Atlantic City line, the New Jersey coastline on a weekend schedule, the Northeast Corridor on a weekend schedule, and the M&E on a weekend schedule. Tomorrow, they should return to weekday schedules. All other rail service remains shut down. We did have stranded trains last night. We were able to safely disembark all those passengers when floodwaters receded. Bus service is operating, but it is operating with delays. Any of you who tried to get here know that you had to snake through any number of closed roads on the local system. So if you need to use bus service, please be patient. Access Link is running and Light Rail is running with few modifications. As the governor said, if you need up-to-date information, please go to njtransit.com for up-to-the-minute rail and bus service changes. The last thing I want to say, and it's the most important thing I think I'm going to say, is that we are going to be continuing to work over the next several days to make sure that the transportation system is up and running. The people that are behind me give their lives to go out on the road and save people, whether from an accident, a flat tire, a broken down vehicle, or floodwaters. If you see emergency vehicles on the side of the road, whether they're troopers, local law enforcement, towing contractors, electrical workers, or any other vehicle that has flashing lights, please move over one lane. We have lost more emergency responders in this country this year than I care to think about, and I'd like not to think about one as a result of this storm. Please drive with respect. Understand that we need these people to sometimes rescue us, and they're not going to be there for us if we don't do the right thing when we're behind the wheel. Don't drive distracted, maintain proper speeds, and as the governor said, please do not drive through flooded areas. I promise you these guys have enough work to do without that. With that, Governor, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you. Thank you, Diane. Good wisdom. This 511 Connect technology is a game changer. More on that perhaps when we've got a little bit more time on our hands. Please help me welcome the Superintendent of the State Police, Colonel Pat Callahan.
Thank you. I'll be brief. I know it's been a couple days for everybody here, and I know certainly everybody behind me. But the one thing I saw on the way in, and I didn't even know I was going to speak here today, but when we got to the light down here to go view the flood-ravaged area, we were stopped at a red light, and who came through? Cherry Hill Fire Department, Westmont, Collingswood. And it just made me think of our New Jersey family, and we call it mutual aid around here, but that's what makes New Jersey special, that first responders don't care about what the emblem on the door is or the patch on our sleeve, that we truly are a New Jersey family, and we come to each other in times of need. Our municipalities, our counties, our state partners. The first person who called me yesterday was the new FEMA administrator for Region 2, Chad Gorman. It was his 10th day on the job. just as evidence of that phenomenal relationship that was seamless with the transition. And I've been on the phone with him probably 10 times today. So I can assure Hillsborough and the communities around the entire state of New Jersey that the Office of Emergency Management will work with FEMA, will work with your county OEM coordinators and your towns from a public assistance standpoint, and certainly from a more long-term standpoint to mitigation efforts that we can take so we don't have to go through this one more time ever again. So I'm humbled to serve shoulder to shoulder with everybody throughout the state, and let's just, as we always do, take care of one another. God bless.
Thanks, Pat. Thanks, buddy. Thank you, Pat. Sean and I were in the car coming back, and we have to remind ourselves, Hillsborough is one of the great communities in this state, if not this country. It is the quintessential Jersey town, great schools, great quality of life, and it's going to fight through this thanks to the mayor and council, Chanel and her team at the county level. We'll do our share at the state government level. No matter how good a job all of the above do, we still need great representation in Washington. We still need to get our fair share out of Washington now more than ever. I spoke to the president, as I said. He is all in. He knows Jersey. He loves Jersey. He's going to be there for us. But for instance, getting an infrastructure bill out of Congress that the president, I know, will sign, that has a lot of resilient infrastructure that would go toward making something like this, if it were to happen in the future, a lot less painful for residents here in Hillsborough and around the state, would be a game changer for New Jersey. And the good news is we got one of those great fighters with us. Please help me welcome our final speaker, Congressman Tom Malinowski.
Thank you, Governor. And I just want to add my words of thanks to the incredibly brave volunteers of the Hillsborough Fire Department. Thank you, guys. You saved a lot of lives last night. And I don't think too many of us appreciate exactly how hard that was and how hard it is every time something like this happens. And despite that courageous effort, there's been significant loss of life. 2 people lost in Hillsborough right here. 4 deaths that we know of in Raritan Township, not too far from here, and many, many people missing. Significant infrastructure damage as well. Just in my little town of East Amwell, we have 4 bridges that we're going to have to be replaced, not just repaired. And multiply that by all the little towns and townships across Hunterdon and Somerset and Warren and Morris counties and all the parts of the state that have been hit hard. And this is not over yet. The floodwaters are receding here. But for our river towns in Hunterdon County, for example, they're bracing for the Delaware River actually continuing to rise. It's going to crest tonight at, I've heard 9 or 10 p.m. So we're not yet at the recovery phase. We're still dealing with a very, very serious situation for some of our fellow New Jerseyans. We're going to need a lot of help. The governor, as you know, has requested a federal emergency declaration. I'm confident that President Biden is going to give us that in a very short period of time. That is going to unlock all of the things that FEMA can do for us. And I'm going to fight for all of it, for help for our homeowners who have damage in their homes, for our small businesses, for people who lost their homes, for our municipalities and our county governments that are going to be dealing with the cleanup and with the repair of that infrastructure that has been lost. So we are going to do what it takes to make sure that we recover. But that's not enough, because we have to remember this is a wake-up call. It's not our first wake-up call. Anybody who believes that it's too expensive to stop climate change, anyone who believes that we cannot afford to stop climate change, has got to wake up to the fact that we cannot afford not to. This is going to happen again. And that's why this infrastructure bill that we are going to pass in the House, that President Biden is going to sign, has tens of billions of dollars, as the governor suggested, to make sure that we are more resilient in preparing for and dealing with these events. And even that is not enough. What this reminds us is that it is absolutely urgent. It is past time for this country to make the transition from fossil fuels to clean energy. We have an opportunity to do that in Washington this year. If we miss that opportunity, we're going to have to get used to a lot more events like this in the state of New Jersey and around the country. That is absolutely unacceptable to me. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Tom. I think we'll take a couple of real quick questions before we have to keep moving.
How many people are missing, and what can you tell us about the 23 people who died? Where are they from?
Yeah,
What else can you tell us?
we made a decision. We're going to withhold a complete rundown of the blessed losses of life. They are spread across a handful of counties, largely concentrated, not entirely, but largely concentrated in central Jersey and a few in the north. I don't have a missing number, Pat, do you? We can get that to you. That number's moving around for obvious reasons, but we can get that to you. Matt.
Governor, on calling declarations of emergencies, it's not uncommon for you, for example, to do that hours ahead of a snowstorm. You didn't call this one last night until around 10 o'clock when much of the state was flooded. Do you think that if you called it earlier, you could have enticed or incentivized more people to stay home and off the roads?
I mean, we always do a post-mortem on all these storms. Each storm is unique. Each storm teaches us lessons that we then apply in future storms. In the region, we were ahead of anyone else in the region, so we also look at our neighbors and consult with our neighbors. So we were ahead of New York State and New York City by several hours, respectively. We're going to take a hard look at everything associated with this. We screamed out at a press conference yesterday to take this seriously. It could be a very significant rain event. We talked about tornadoes. We suggested to folks to stay home and stay off the road. If I were to be self-critical, we still had way too many cars on the road. Where's Sean? We saw a bunch of cars still on that bridge down there that are still at this moment abandoned. You're seeing them all over the state. But we look back and tighten the playbook every single time and make the decisions as best we think given the circumstances.
Governor, do you have a sense of how much road closures and power outages affected hospital systems? People there getting care? So maybe not.
I don't. Power outages, unless Diane or Pat are aware of any, I think we basically got through as it relates to power outages. In terms of roads, this is a conversation Sean and I had as well, because in this town, and this is not unique to Hillsborough, the most convenient and obvious hospital location is cut off when you have flooding like this. So I can't give you a precise answer. We know that folks had to do a lot of driving around the barn to get to a place they normally could drive in a straight line. Catherine?
Can you just speak a little bit more to the infrastructure bill and how that money would actually help prevent something like this from happening in the future, help mitigate?
Tom, come on in. Tom may want to add to this.
So
Remember that we're the most densely populated state in America, so this has a disproportionate potential impact on us of any other American state.
Yeah, one of the biggest line items in the bipartisan infrastructure bill is basically climate resiliency. That's money to improve flood mitigation above all other things. Since in this part of the country, I mean, climate change manifests as water. In other parts of the country, it manifests as fire. Here, we're going to benefit particularly from infrastructure that helps with stormwater management, that tries to, when it's not going to prevent the rain from falling, but that helps it to dissipate more quickly. As I said, it's not enough, and this is why the Build Back Better bill, the budget reconciliation bill, is so important. That is our biggest opportunity in years, and it may be our last opportunity in years, given the politics in Washington, to take a giant leap forward towards clean energy in this country through market incentives, through a fee on basically a carbon fee on imports to this country, putting into effect the goal that President Biden has set of America relying 100% on clean energy for electricity generation by 2035. If this doesn't teach us how urgent that is and how necessary that is, I don't know what will.
Amen. I just would conclude by saying that, Mike, this gets back to your question. I just want to say this. I said that we have confirmed at least 23 losses of life. This also plays into folks who may still be missing. Please keep each and every one of them and their families in your prayers, and let's hope that number does not go up. I'm going to assuming we can get there, we're going to get in the truck and head up to Passaic, and I'll be making some more stops throughout the day tomorrow. I want to thank the mayor and council, the commissioner director and her team. Speaker Coughlin, thank you to the assemblyman, to the congressman, to the members of our cabinet and team, and most importantly to the first responders, guys. You've been extraordinary. I think you said you rescued 200, a couple of hundred folks in this storm. Think about that. So it was awful. Any loss of life is awful and unacceptable. But can you imagine if that 23 was 223, and it would have been without the likes of these men and women. So to each and every one of them, we have nothing but huge respect and deepest thanks. Thank you all.
Nice to see you. Everything well?